Millionaire's heartwarming plea. Fiancée agrees to one last night with ex. Discover the life-changing decision. Jack stared out at the night skyline of his small Midwestern hometown, the twinkling lights below reminding him of the dreams he once had, long ago dashed in the pursuit of corporate success. A 35-year-old self-made millionaire, he traded laughter with friends and time spent under the stars for boardroom meetings and glossy presentations. Now, standing on the balcony, he could almost hear the whispers of summer nights spent with Sophie, his high school sweetheart. She'd always understood him, while Emily, his sophisticated fiancée, seemed to orbit a world that felt glamorous but empty. As Jack's heart tightened, his phone buzzed to life with a message that would change everything. It was Sophie, a desperate plea tangled between familiar words that sent a shiver down his spine. Her father, a proud veteran, was facing eviction due to mounting medical bills. In that instant, the past surged forth, crashing like waves against the fortified fortress he'd built around himself. How could he help her after all these years? The weight of guilt and longing pressed heavily on his chest. With a racing heart, he took an unusual step during dinner, a conversation with Emily that was anything but ordinary. Could I spend one last night with Sophie? Just to help her, he asked, every word a crack in the heart he'd carefully locked away. The disbelief on Emily's face was palpable, trailing into simmering tension. Warm candles flickered as silence hung heavily between them. A confrontation between loyalty and unresolved feelings writhed in the air. Why would you need to do that? She shot back, her voice sharp and incredulous. You're engaged to me, Jack? Her words felt like a slap, but truth coursed through them. What was this life they'd built together? Did he truly love her? Was his heart ever fully in it? Amidst the tension, he felt the familiar pang for a simpler time when everything seemed possible. When laughter rang bright and the sweetness of love was just a summer kiss away. That night, beneath the vast starry sky they once shared, memories flooded back to Jack as he met Sophie. Their laughter was easy but layered with a bittersweet ache. They spoke of dreams, the essence of a bond that once felt unbreakable, only to have been shattered by ambition. Neighbors and strangers rallied around Sophie's family, uniting in a heartwarming display of community strength, proving that hope could light even the darkest corners of uncertainty. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the night dragged on, Jack's internal conflict boiled to the surface. He and Sophie wrestled through tears and laughter, exchanging regrets and hopes. The weight of his choices hung heavily in the air, a reminder of what he had sacrificed on the altar of success. Would he dare confront Emily? Deep down, Jack knew this was a reckoning he could no longer avoid. As the first light of dawn peeked over the horizon, Jack stood at a crossroads, an obligation to the polished life he built versus the allure of a love that had never fully faded. What would he choose? Would he choose the hollow romance of wealth, or would he dare to reclaim the happiness tangled in the arms of forgiveness? The answer loomed like a cloud, heavy with anticipation, and Jack was ready to uncover what it truly meant to win in life. Jack awoke with a start, his heart racing. The sunlight streamed through the curtains, casting a warm glow that felt both nurturing and suffocating. Memories from last night lingered, like echoes refusing to fade. Sophie's laughter, the tears they shared, and the weight of the decisions pressing on his chest. He got out of bed and moved to the kitchen, the smell of coffee brewing wrapping around him like an old friend. But even the rich scent could not mask the bitter taste of uncertainty. He sipped slowly, staring out the window at the familiar streets. They told stories of his past, but now they felt foreign, tainted by the choices he was yet to make. There was a knock at the door. It was Emily. Jack could see her through the frosted glass, a silhouette bathed in light. The sight jolted him, a reminder of the life he had built. He opened the door, his heart thumping loudly against his ribcage. Good morning, she greeted, her voice soft but laced with an underlying tension. Morning, he replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. Empathy flickered in her eyes, and she took a step closer. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about last night. Jack swallowed hard, his mind racing. I know, me too. Do you really need to see Sophie? There it was, the question hanging in the air like an unresolved chord. He hesitated. I just want to help her, Em. Nothing more. Is that all? The edge in her tone sharpened. Feels like you're hiding something. Maybe I am, he said, the truth spilling out unexpectedly, but it's not what you think. This is about loyalty to old friends, not romance. Emily raised an eyebrow, her sadness palpable. Old friends? Or old love? Jack wished he could explain it all, the warmth of a love-long past that had shaped his identity, the ache of longing buried under layers of ambition and success. But the words tangled in his throat, trapped under the weight of unresolved emotions. Let me go tonight, he finally said. I'll come back and we can talk. Real talk. Her silence was deafening, and Jack's chest tightened. Would she agree? Her jaw clenched, and he saw the flicker of thought as confusion danced in her eyes. Fine, she exhaled, her voice trembling slightly. But you have to be honest with me. Always, he promised, though uncertainty filled the space between them. As she turned to leave, a pang of guilt settled in the pit of his stomach. What had he really committed to? The day dragged on, each ticking minute spent in anxious anticipation. Jack kept recalling every moment he spent with Sophie, the way they shared dreams against a backdrop of stars, the unguarded laughter that lit the night sky. It felt increasingly reckless but also thrilling, like rediscovering a long-lost part of himself. When the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows that danced along the walls, Jack readied himself. He stepped into the cool evening air, his heart pounding in time with the chorus of cicadas. The place where he'd meet Sophie was familiar, yet charged with an excitement that ignited his spirit. He didn't arrive to an empty venue. Members of the community were already there, uniting in a show of support for her family. Their determined faces ignited a forgotten hope in him, shining bright like the lights of the town below. And then he saw her. Sophie stood amidst the crowd, radiant yet weary, an understated elegance that tugged at his heart. Suddenly, everything he had been debating, every fear and regret, shattered into possibilities. But as their eyes locked, Jack felt an unexpected jolt of truth. The stakes had never been higher, and he was ready to reveal more than just his emotions. He was ready to confront what his heart had been whispering all along. Would the reunion be a chance for redemption or a plunge into deeper chaos? The moment hung in the air, a tension so thick it felt tangible, and Jack took a step forward. What exactly awaited them both in this night filled with unresolved feelings? As Jack took that step, everything around him blurred. The laughter of children playing nearby, the murmurs of adults sharing their stories, all of it faded into the background. His focus was solely on Sophie. Her expression was a whirlwind of emotions. Hope, fear, longing, and a faint trace of nostalgia. It mirrored his own turmoil, each feeling reverberating like the string of a taut bow, ready to snap. The gathering pulsated with energy, but for Jack, it felt like they existed in a bubble, separate from everything else. He closed the distance between them, his heart thumping loud enough that he worried she might hear it. As he reached her, the crowd became an echo, fading away into the background noise of the heart where their past still echoed like a song never quite forgotten. Sophie, he said softly, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. She turned to him fully, and for a moment, all the worries and the weight of the world were swept aside. They were just two people, once again caught in the web of connection that had once been so strong. Jack, she started, then faltered. Her voice was a soft whisper, as fragile as a paper bird. You came. Of course I did. I've been thinking about this. About us a lot. The honesty in his words hung between them, creating a fragile bridge over years filled with silence. But Sophie looked down at the ground, as if searching for answers among the fading shadows. But I don't know if they're in us anymore. There it was, the undeniable truth they both had feared to confront. Jack's heart sank, then surged with defiance. There can be, if we let it. But how? Questions danced uncomfortably in his mind, each heavier than the last. The fear of losing Emily, the promise he made to her, tangled with the yearning for Sophie. Sophie, what happened to us? Why did we drift apart? Sophie looked up, her eyes glistening under the dim lights. Life happened, Jack. We got busy chasing our dreams, and we forgot to chase each other. Maybe Jack felt the weight of her words like stones piling in his chest. But he also felt a spark, a flicker of hope. We can start again, right? We don't have to stay lost. Can we? She questioned, searching his face for truth. What will this mean for you and Emily? Jack hesitated. The question slashed through his heart with sharp clarity. He wanted to tell her that love shouldn't be a divided truth, but how could he say that when the path forward was unclear? The crowd around them faded into silhouettes as the pressure mounted. Jack took a deep breath, longing for the clarity to simplify the complexities of love, loyalty, and desire. I don't know, but I'm here now. Can we figure it out together? Suddenly, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd. Someone had shared a touching memory of Sophie's family, and the moment set the air ablaze with warmth. Jack could feel the energy shift. Laughter filled the space, yet it felt as if he and Sophie remained cloaked in a bubble of uncertainty. I want to believe that, Jack. I really do, she finally said. But doubt lingered in her voice like a distant echo of a bittersweet melody. Jack's heart twisted painfully. He didn't want her to doubt. He wanted to reassure her, to erase the divide that had formed over the years. But the reality of their lives was like a relentless tide, forever changing, ever uncertain. As he reached out and gently brushed her arm, he felt the warmth of her skin, grounding yet electric. But what would this night lead to? Would this be just a step back into the past? Or a new beginning for both of them? With unwavering intensity, Jack knew he was standing at the edge of something monumental, a truth that could either shatter everything he knew or pave a way toward redemption. The crowd continued to cheer, but in that moment, amidst the noise, all he could hear was his own heart racing, calling him to make a choice. Would he take the leap? Or would they remain locked in the pain of the past? Sophie's eyes met his, and in their depths, Jack saw a world of possibility waiting to unfold. But would he dare to take that first step into the unknown before it was too late? Jack could feel a stirring deep inside him, the kind that threatened to spill over if he didn't act soon. Sophie's gaze was steady, but her expression oscillated between longing and fear. He knew she needed more than just words. She needed a sign, a gesture that would reassure her that he was all in, even with the weight of the world on his shoulders. I want to try, Sophie. Just give me a chance to show you, he implored, his voice barely above a whisper. The sincerity in his tone was palpable, and for a moment, he thought he saw something flicker in her eyes. She took a step back. And what about Emily? Your life is with her now, Jack. I can't come in and wreck that. Ripped from his own fantasies, Jack felt a pang of guilt. Emily was kind and warm, someone who had been his anchor for months now. But still he couldn't ignore this connection, a fierce flame that hadn't dimmed over time. Sophie, it's complicated, but complicated is just another way of saying difficult, she interjected, her voice trembling slightly. What if I let you in and then you leave me again? Just like before? The question hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. He could sense the pain behind her words, could almost feel it in his own chest. I won't leave you, I swear it. Life has taken us down different paths, yes, but I've never stopped caring about you. The truth burst forth from him, raw and unfiltered. I can't change what happened, but I want to fight for something real here and now. For a heartbeat, time stood still. Jack searched her face for a crack in her resolve, a sign that she was willing to let him back in. He could see the internal battle raging within her. One moment, a flicker of hope sparked in her eyes. The next, fear clouded them again. Do you really think we can pick up where we left off? She asked, her voice soft yet tinged with skepticism. What if we just end up hurting each other all over again? Jack stepped closer, closing the space between them. The world around them faded even more, and it was just the two of them in that confined space of emotion. I don't have all the answers, but I believe in second chances, Sophie. I believe that love can weather storms if we let it. Please let us take it one step at a time together. Sophie's breath hitched, and he could see the conflicted feelings swirling within her. Was she willing to trust him again? Could they really rebuild something worthwhile? The air thickened and Jack held his breath, hoping she'd choose to leap with him. Finally, a small nod from her. One step, that's all I can promise right now. His heart soared. That's all I'm asking for. A soft smile broke through her uncertainty, igniting a warmth inside him that he thought he'd lost forever. It was tentative but real. Then let us start with a walk. Just us. Just us, he echoed, a rush of relief washing over him. As they stepped into the night, the moon casting a silvery hue on everything around them, Jack couldn't shake the feeling of impending change. They walked side by side, sharing fragments of thoughts and memories that felt both nostalgic and new. But somewhere in the back of his mind, the shadow of Emily loomed large. Would this fleeting moment lead to a tangled web of heartache? Or could it be the dawn of a beautiful reconnection? As they strolled further into the unknown, Jack stole a glance at Sophie, and she caught him looking. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, he felt the weight of their past and the gravity of the future pressing down upon them. Would this be a healing journey or a step closer to heartbreak? The night felt thick with possibilities, and as they turned a corner, the question lingered: could their tentative steps toward rediscovery lead to a place neither of them could manage to imagine? The calm night air wrapped around them like a comforting blanket, filled with the distant murmurs of the city. Jack and Sophie walked slowly, their footsteps muted against the quiet street. Each step felt monumental, bridging the gap between who they once were and who they might become again. I used to love walking like this, just talking about anything and everything, Sophie said, breaking the silence. Her voice was soft, laced with hints of bittersweet memories. Remember those long summer nights? We thought we'd talk until dawn. Jack smiled at the thought. Those nights felt like a different lifetime, full of youthful dreams and boundless hope. Yeah, I remember. We were invincible back then. As they turned a corner, the glow of streetlights bathed them in warm light. Jack glanced at Sophie, her features softened by the gentle illumination. She looked beautiful, almost ethereal. But there was still that flicker of doubt in her eyes, a shadow that refused to be chased away. "What are you thinking?" he asked, his voice steady but filled with concern. Sophie hesitated, a slight frown pulling at her lips. "I'm just afraid. What if this is just a temporary fix for something that never really went away?" Jack felt a pang in his chest. Her words cut deeper than he expected. "I get that. Trust is hard. But what if this is truly different? What if we can actually heal?" He reached out, lightly brushing her arm, feeling the electric connection radiate from simple contact. Her gaze flickered to his, searching for something: a truth, a promise. "It's just I can't go through the heartbreak again. If things don't work, if you decide to go back to Emily." The name hung in the air, a ghost of the past. Jack pushed it aside, trying to focus on the moment they were sharing. "I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I want to make a choice that feels right with you." He paused, weighing his next words. "You deserve that chance too. We both do." Sophie studied him, and Jack wondered if she could see just how much he meant it. It wasn't just about rekindling their relationship. It was about recognizing that their past held parts of them that still mattered. "You always were the one with the big heart," she finally said, a small smile creeping onto her face, even through the uncertainty. Jack felt warmth spread through him, momentarily pushing the sharp ache of guilt aside. "And you were the one who dared to believe in us. Together we can be that again." As they walked on, the conversation shifted to lighter topics, laughter eventually punctuating the air around them. It felt good, really good, to share those moments again. Each laugh felt like another brick being laid in the foundation of their rebuilt connection. But as they approached a small park, the laughter faded, and a weight settled between them again. Jack glanced over at Sophie, her expression now serious. "Jack," she started, her voice steadier than before, "there's something I need to know before we go any further. Are you truly ready to leave her behind?" The question landed with a thud, echoing between them like a waking nightmare. Jack felt his heart stutter, caught off guard by the magnitude of it all. He wanted to scream that he was ready, that he would fight for them. But the reality of Emily was still there, looming like a specter. He began, struggling for the right words. He owed Sophie honesty, yet he felt the tightening in his chest. If only he could assure her. If only he could find a way to make it all simple again. But the truth was, none of this felt simple at all. Could they really move forward when the past still haunted him? And would Sophie truly accept him, knowing the tangled mess of his life? As the moonlight cast shadows on their faces, Jack understood that the most daunting questions were still waiting to be addressed. Right there, beneath the gaze of the stars, everything hung in the balance. What would he choose? Could he really let go and embrace this second chance? Would Sophie be ready to risk it all once again? The silence that followed Sophie's question felt heavy. Jack didn't know how to respond, not with the weight of Emily's shadow looming over them. He searched for something reassuring to say, but all that came to mind were the fragments of his tangled heart. "I need time," he finally managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. It felt weak, but it was the truth. "I can't just erase everything in an instant." Sophie's expression shifted from hope to despair, and Jack felt a sharp pang of regret. "I'm not asking you to erase it," she said softly, her eyes shimmering in the dim light. "I just need to know where your heart lies." His heart was racing. Jack knew what he wanted, but making that leap felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, wind whipping at his back. "I care about you, Sophie. I always have. You know that." She nodded, but he could see the uncertainty swirling in her eyes. "But care isn't enough anymore. I need to feel that you're willing to leave the past behind for us for real." They stood in front of the park's entrance, the shadows of the trees casting intricate patterns around them. Jack let out a deep breath. He wanted to assure her, to promise her that he'd choose her, that he would fight for them. But how could he when his own heart was so fragmented? "I've been lost, Sophie. I thought I was making things right with Emily, but now," he started, but the words got stuck in his throat. "Now you don't know?" She finished for him. The bitterness in her voice cut deep. "How can you be unsure about this?" He took a step closer, desperate to reach across the chasm that had formed between them. "I want us to work." "I do. But it's complicated and I don't want to drag you into my mess." "Then maybe we need to stop." The words felt like a slap in the face. Sophie pulled back as if he had physically pushed her. The sadness drew lines across her face and Jack felt hollow. "Stop? Just like that?" he said, his voice raised slightly. "What about everything we're rebuilding?" "Rebuilding starts with honesty, Jack. If you can't commit to this right now, it's better to let go." The pain in her voice cut through him. A deep silence settled again, but this time it was overwhelming. Jack reached for her hand but hesitated, unsure if she would welcome it or pull away. He finally closed the gap and brushed his fingers against hers. She flinched but didn't draw back. "Can't we just take this one step at a time? One night at a time?" he suggested, trying to grasp onto something that felt stable. Sophie's eyes searched his face, intent and serious. "Do you think our history can hold us together when everything feels so fragile?" He wished he could tell her it could, defend the future he wanted with her. "We have to try," he said finally, feeling the resolve in his voice strengthen. "We can't give up before we even begin." Sophie hesitated. She looked up at the sky, the moon bright and watchful. "And what if we fall again? What if all we're doing is walking back into a cycle of hurt?" Jack felt the ache of possibility hanging over them. "Then at least we'll have tried," he said softly. "For each other. For our past." With a long exhale, she lifted her gaze back to him. "You're asking for a chance, but you're not ready for a commitment. I need to know I want to be your second choice when the first one is still there." The vulnerability in her voice struck him hard. He felt the truth of her words, a mixture of hope and fear swallowing him whole. "Let us give it one more night, Sophie," he pleaded. "Let us see if we can start to mend things before we decide." For a moment she didn't answer. The tension crackled between them, a tightrope of emotion. Finally she relented, her shoulders falling ever so slightly. "Okay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "One more night. But Jack, it has to matter." He stepped a little closer, the warmth between them reigniting a flicker of hope. "It will matter. Promise." But deep inside, Jack felt the weight of doubt heavy on his heart. As they turned to walk deeper into the park, the shadows stretched out behind them and uncertainty lingered in the night air. What awaited them beyond this moment? Could one night be enough to reshape their past and create a future? Or would it all slip away like the moonlight fading into darkness? The air was cooler now, a gentle breeze sweeping through the park, rustling the leaves overhead. Jack and Sophie walked side by side, their fingers brushing together, the contact electric yet fragile. Each step felt like a negotiation between what was and what could be. Sophie broke the silence, her voice steady, though it faltered slightly. "Where do you want to go?" He glanced around, the familiar sights striking him in waves of nostalgia. "We could sit by the pond," he suggested. It had always been their spot, where laughter had echoed and dreams had floated like the ducks on the water. Yeah, I remember, she replied, her tone lighter. It offered a glimpse of the easy bond they once shared, even if it felt like a distant memory. We used to spend hours there. Jack smiled faintly, but the warmth didn't quite reach his heart. We can try to get that back. They took a seat on the bench, and for a moment, everything felt still. The pond shimmered under the moonlight, the surface a shimmering blanket of silver. Jack could see the small ripples, like their relationship steady but ever so vulnerable. Tell me what you want, Jack, Sophie urged, her eyes searching his face. What do you really want? He took a deep breath, the weight of the question pressing down on him. I want to be honest with you, he started, his voice tinged with regret. I want to choose you, but Emily's not just someone from my past. Just a part of who I am. And that's hard to reconcile. Sophie's expression clouded. But you said you care. Isn't that enough to untangle yourself? To find a way forward? Jack raked his fingers through his hair, frustration creeping in. It should be, right? I'm tired of being half in, half out. I hate the way it feels, and it's unfair to both of you. Maybe it's that you want both, she said, a hint of challenge in her tone. You're scared to let one go. The truth stung. That's not it. He paused, glancing at the water, as if it held answers. Maybe I'm scared that if I let go of Emily, I'll regret it. I never wanted to hurt either of you. That's the problem, Jack. You're thinking about everyone except yourself. Sophie's voice softened, her eyes locking onto his with fierce intensity. What about you? What do you need to be happy? His heart pounded in his chest, the question echoing around them. I need clarity, he admitted, and it felt like a revelation. I need to know whether I can truly create something with you, or if we're just trying to rewrite old stories. Then we have to be honest, no more secrets, she said, resolute. What if we make a promise tonight? To not let the past dictate our future? It felt like a lifeline tossed into the turbulent sea of his heart. Jack reached for her hand, this time without hesitation. "Okay," he said slowly. "But that means I have to figure things out." "I can wait," she replied, squeezing his hand tightly. "Just don't make me wait forever." Night deepened around them, stars speckling the sky like scattered dreams. Jack could feel the tremor of possibility in the air, a flicker of hope igniting within him. "Let us take this night as a chance," he said, feeling something shift. "No expectations. Just let us make it count." Sophie nodded, a small smile breaking through her worry. One night to redefine everything. As laughter began to flow between them again, Jack felt lighter, like the weight of the world had eased just a little. They spent hours sharing stories, their voices mingling with the night sounds, the hum of life surrounding them. But as the moon began its descent, he couldn't shake the nagging thought in the back of his mind. Could this really be enough? What awaited him once dawn broke? Would this night stand as a pivot toward a new reality? Or would it simply be another chapter in an unresolved story? As the first light of dawn trickled into the sky, Jack found himself wide awake, staring at the ripples in the pond. The moon had given way to soft shades of blue and gold, turning the water into a glowing canvas. Beside him, Sophie was still asleep, her head tilted back against the bench, her chest rising and falling gently. He had tossed and turned, weighed down not just by fatigue but by the reality of what came next. The night had felt like a reprieve, a suspension of their tangled lives where laughter echoed like it used to. But now the morning light brought with it the cold reminder of decisions looming ahead. Jack's heart raced as thoughts of Emily surged forward. Could he truly let go? He had promised Sophie tonight would be different. They were carving a new path, yet here he was trapped between two worlds. He couldn't shake that feeling in his gut. Jack glanced at Sophie, absorbing her peaceful face. She looked so carefree, so full of hope. He wished he could bottle that vulnerability and carry it with him through the inevitable storm ahead. Jack ran a hand over his face, anxiety coursing through him. What if he lost her for good? Just then Sophie stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She smiled sleepily, and the world around them seemed warmer. "Morning," she said softly, her voice a gentle whisper. "Did you sleep?" "Not really," he admitted, feeling the weight of his confession. "I was thinking about everything." Her expression shifted slightly, concern creeping in. "Everything?" Jack inhaled deeply, gathering his words. "Last night felt perfect, but today is a reality check. I need to talk about Emily to figure out where we stand, you know?" She sat up, the brightness of the morning casting shadows on her face, and nodded slowly. I get it, Jack. It's a big deal. I don't want to hurt you, he said, his voice trembling slightly. But I can't let this linger either. I need to know what I want and what's real. It's not just about feelings. Sophie shifted closer, brushing a stray hair behind her ear. I want you to be clear. But just remember, the answer may not be easy to swallow. He felt his heart drop. What if the answer is that I still have ties to Emily? That maybe it's not over for us? She inhaled sharply, the honesty cutting through the air like a knife. Then what happens to us? He reached for her hand again, intertwining their fingers as the sun began to rise higher, illuminating all the possibilities and the impossibilities. I want you to know I care about you deeply. I'm just scared of choosing wrong. Life's full of choices, Jack, Sophie replied, her voice steady. We can't control everything. Sometimes we just have to leap. The gravity of her words pulled at him. Could he leap? Would he have the guts to let go of Emily for something new with Sophie? Was he strong enough to accept the pain of an uncertain future? I don't want to lose you, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. You won't lose me if you decide what you really want. But if you don't, we'll just be stuck in this limbo, she said, her honesty stunning him. You need to find that clarity we talked about. Jack's gaze fell to their entwined hands, and for the first time, he felt a flicker of confidence. Then it settled. I'll talk to her today. I'll find clarity because I owe that to both of you. As they stood up, ready to face whatever the day had in store, a breeze danced around them, carrying the promise of potential and change. Jack felt a sense of resolve hardening within him. This wasn't just about deciding between Sophie and Emily. It was about deciding who he wanted to be. Would he step into the unknown, fully committed to the choice he would make? Or would he find himself backtracking, searching for answers in a world tainted by past mistakes? Jack took a deep breath, steeling himself for the discussions ahead. The moment of truth was approaching, and he had no idea how it would all play out. Would clarity bring him peace? Or would it open a door to more heartache than he had initially anticipated? Jack walked away from the pond with Sophie by his side, the air thick between them. Each step felt heavier, a weight he couldn't shake off. The sun climbed steadily, casting a golden hue over everything, but inside him shadows loomed. Sophie broke the silence first, her voice trembling slightly. So when do you think you'll talk to Emily? He glanced sideways at her, trying to gauge her mood. It was tough to read her. Today, I guess. This needs to be resolved sooner rather than later. Yeah, I get that, she replied. But there was a slight crack in her tone that made his heart ache. They made their way back to the car, their footsteps mirroring the turbulence of their conversation. Jack felt the anticipation building, twisting in his stomach. How could he have anticipated this morning would feel heavier than the night filled with laughter and light? Once inside the car, Jack started the engine, but his mind raced back to Emily. What would he say? Would he truly be able to let go? Sophie reached over and placed her hand on his knee. You okay? He nodded, but it felt like a lie. Their drive felt longer than usual, the road ahead unending. Jack looked at the trees whizzing past, each one a reminder of his path, tangled yet winding towards potential clarity. When they arrived at Emily's apartment, Jack felt a wave of nerves crash over him. He parked the car and sat there, staring at the building as if it were a fortress. This was it, the moment he had been avoiding for so long. Sophie turned to him. You've got this. Just breathe. Her reassurance sparked a flicker of hope. Jack took a deep breath, attempting to steady the whirlwind inside him. Thanks, sophomore. I'll call you when I'm done. She nodded, her eyes steady yet glistening with something unspoken. Jack stepped out, and as he walked toward the entrance, his heart drummed a familiar rhythm of dread and anticipation. He knocked, the sound echoing louder than he expected. Emily opened the door, surprise flickering across her face. Jack? Hey, can I come in? He asked, trying hard to keep his voice steady. Sure. She stepped aside, and he entered, feeling the weight of memories flooding in. The smell of her favorite lavender candle hung in the air, and echoes of laughter from happier times rang in his ears. Thanks for seeing me, he said, closing the door behind him. Emily leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Of course. I wasn't sure if you'd ever reach out again. Her eyes searched his, seeking answers. Jack took a deep breath. I want to be honest about what's going on. About Sophie too. Her face softened, but he could see the shadow of uncertainty there. You're really moving on, aren't you? Jack's heart twisted. I'm trying to, but I need to know if there's anything left for us. The air thickened between them. A silence filled with everything they couldn't say. He had to find clarity, but did she? His thoughts raced. How could he be sure of anything? Jack could feel Sophie waiting in the wings, waiting for answers that could change everything. What do you want, Jack? Emily finally asked, her voice laced with a vulnerability he hadn't expected. He opened his mouth to reply, but before the words could form, he caught a glimpse of their past together: laughter, love, heartache. Would choosing mean losing everything he had with Sophie? As the weight of his thoughts pressed down, his heart thudded violently against his chest. I don't know, he stammered, the confession falling hard between them. Emily's expression faltered, revealing a hurt that pierced through him. Outside, the day hummed with possibility, but inside that small kitchen, time stood still. Jack realized his decision wasn't just about a past or a future. It was about tearing down the walls around his own heart. Could he be brave enough to venture past the pain, not just for himself but for both women in his life? The truth burned in his throat, and he knew the next words he would say could change everything. What if clarity led not to peace, but to a choice he wasn't ready to make? Jack felt the moment hang heavy in the air, each second stretching out as he locked eyes with Emily. Her face, once familiar and warm, now felt like a foreign land fraught with memories and uncertainty. He took a tentative step forward, the words swirling in his mind, wrestling for control over the chaos within him. I care about you, Em, he began, feeling the weight of truth slowly nudging him forward. But I've also realized that I can't keep myself from Sophie. She's part of my past, but she's also a part of my heart that I've never really let go of. The silence that followed felt deafening. Emily's expression shifted, her eyes searching his, as if hoping to find a glimmer of the Jack she once knew. And what does that mean for us? She whispered, pain lacing every syllable. It felt like the ground beneath him was shifting. I don't think I can go back. Not when there's this pull back to her. This unfinished chapter between us. As the words tumbled out, Jack felt both liberated and raw. I need to explore that. I owe it to myself to see what potential exists. Emily bit her lip and nodded slowly, as if processing the truth he had just laid out. So, you're choosing her over everything we've built? The question lingered between them like a bitter aftertaste. No, he replied urgently, it's not a choice of one over the other. It's about being honest with myself. We were great together, and we had a beautiful life, but it feels like I've been living someone else's story. I just need to find clarity before I make any decisions. Clarity? Emily echoed, her voice trembling. That's your answer? You can't even say that you want to be with me without hesitation? I know that sounds like a coward's way out, he said, frustration bubbling in him. But this is real for me. And for us. We can't force something if a part of me is elsewhere. I can't keep you in limbo while I figure this out. Emily looked away, her gaze dropping to the floor. The love they had built was crumbling in the wake of his struggle, and he felt his heart twisting in agony. Could he really allow such pain to unfold? It's just not fair, Jack, she said, voice barely above a whisper. You tell me to wait while you make sense of your feelings for her. I deserve someone who knows what they want. Believe me, I want to know what I want. I want to make this work, he pleaded. If it weren't for Sophie coming back into my life, I would have never questioned anything. She sighed deeply, closing her eyes as if to block out the reality he had just laid out. So what happens next? She asked, looking back up at him with tears glistening in her eyes. Do you go to her now? Is that your next step? Jack took a step back, the crushing weight of the decision pressing down on him harder than ever. I want to. I really do want to talk to her. Emily nodded, but the resignation was evident in her expression. So there it is. It was a statement, not a question, crystallizing their fragile reality. Jack's resolve faltered, but deep inside, he knew he was taking steps toward something necessary. Something that could potentially be more than just the shadows of the past. I truly hope you can understand. I can understand, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. What I'm struggling with right now is whether I can accept it. He turned away from Emily, guilt coiling in his gut. They had shared so much and yet he felt her slipping through his fingers. "I'll always treasure what we had, Emily." His heart ached as he voiced the words. They felt like a final breath in a relationship that had once held endless promise. As he walked toward the door, a nagging doubt gripped him. Would he find what he was searching for? Or was he simply prolonging heartache for himself and for Sophie? One step at a time, he reminded himself, trying to grasp at hope. Once outside, he faced the brightening skies, the sun's rays illuminating a path ahead fraught with uncertainty. He reached for his phone, a rush of anxiety coursing through him as he dialed Sophie's number. "Hey," she answered, her voice charged with an energy that felt almost electric. "Can we meet?" he asked, heart racing. "I need to talk." "Of course. Where?" "Same pond," he replied, feeling a sense of urgency to return to where it had all begun. "I'll be there soon." After hanging up, he took a moment to breathe. This would either lead to redemption or another misstep. Yet, for the first time in a long while, Jack felt like he was reclaiming his own direction, a chance to confront the remnants of his heart fully. The drive back to the park was a blur, nerves pulsing through him like storm clouds gathering. What would he say? Would Sophie understand his struggles? As he arrived and parked, he looked at the water glimmering in the sunlight. Jack stepped out, each step echoing the promise he had made to explore truly where his heart lay, regardless of the outcome. The familiar bench beneath the trees beckoned, and he took a moment to gather himself before approaching. Sophie was already there, her figure lit by the golden hues of the day. She turned at the sound of his footsteps, eyes bright with anticipation and a hint of trepidation. "Hey, you made it." Her smile was bright, yet he could sense the underlying tension. "I did," he replied, taking a seat beside her. "I just had a conversation with Emily." Sophie's expression shifted, concern etched in her features. "And? It wasn't easy," he admitted. "But I realized I need to be honest about everything. About what we had and what I expect moving forward." Her eyes searched his, and in that moment, Jack felt the weight of his heartfulness. He took a deep breath. "I want to give us a real chance. But I had to talk to her first, and now that I've faced that reality, I can't hold back from telling you how I feel." The air felt charged, brimming with the tension of their intertwined paths and the possibilities that lay ahead. "Which is?" she prompted, heart pounding in her chest. He took her hands into his, feeling the warmth of her skin against his. "I want you, Sophie. I want a future that feels like more than just past mistakes. I want to see where this can go with no regrets." A glimmer of hope sparked in her eyes, and Jack held his breath, wishing desperately it was enough to conquer the shadows of uncertainty that still lingered. "Then let us take that leap together," Sophie said, her voice steady and determined. "Let us start anew." This was the moment. This was his chance to redefine their story, a leap into a world built on honesty, vulnerability, and hope. One leap could change everything. And it was finally time to take it. With a united sense of purpose, they leaned into each other, ready to face whatever awaited them, navigating the uncharted waters of a love reborn. Now, as you bask in this heartwarming conclusion, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss the next exclusive stories full of twists and inspiration. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let the world see these transformations. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this ending. What did you think? And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support, because only true fans understand the importance of lifting each other up. Don't wait not even one more second.